Love?
Within.
Within. Where do we find love?
Within.
All right. Many of us seek outside ourselves. I wanted to notice something. I had someone call me this week and share with me that right now, and so we're going to do a little prayer a little bit later, we'll include our nation. Because someone had shared that she thinks that a lot of our nation, we're going through a change right now because we're having an election. Who's voting? Yay! Who already voted?
I already.
Me too. Yay! And so there's a lot of uncertainty, she said, and she feels that she's very sensitive to, kind of in tune with things, and feels this kind of uncertainty. But what we can always count on is that right where we are, right inside of us, the divine is there, always there. So I love the theme for this month. And so to celebrate that, and being October also, I've been really thinking about this whole idea of falling, of being fall. Who noticed leaves? I've been sweeping leaves. Anyone here sweeping leaves? So it's this kind of time of year. I love it. When the weather turns a little bit cool and we go within. We go within our homes. We sit by a nice warm fire, perhaps have something warm to drink. And I know that we have many seasons. We have 4, but I love every one of them. I want to give everyone a kiss. Not every one of you a kiss, but everyone. I could do that too. Oh, okay. But every single season, I love it. So to support and inspire this month's exploration, we are using a different poem every week from Rumi. Who knows about Rumi? Rumi is an amazing Sufi poet. And the quote and the poem I'm using today, I will share with you in just a little bit. But I wanted to ask, how many of you remember this name of Pam Grout? Anyone here remember Pam Grout? None of you?
Yes.
Some of you? Okay, because this is one of her tiny little books. The reason I'm sharing this is because of her awareness of this love that is inside of all of us. And something that I'll share that happened to her that was so profound that changed her whole life, that has to do with this wonderful word here, which is gratitude. It actually literally shifted her whole consciousness. Her book was called E Squared. And in her newest book is E Cubed. E Cubed. And so that's one that I started reading as well. And in this book, she has a worldview. I'm going to give you the worldview according to Pam Grout. And the reason I share this is because of all of the sensitivity, all of the change that is happening, not only here in Canada, but also in the States and all over the world. There's this sort of thing that's happening. I call it a collective awakening. A collective awakening. So here's what she says. She calls it Worldview 2.0. And she says, you will quickly come to realize that life is meant to be approached with exuberance and joy. And that follow your bliss is not an empty platitude for a bumper sticker, but rather a reasonable plan of action for your life. If that's not the way your life is playing out, then something, she said, is messed up. If magic isn't happening to you on a daily basis, if you're not waking up every morning with passion and zest, you're living in a horror picture that you have concocted to entertain yourself. How many of you want to do that? Dr. Michael Beckwith had said, he said, it appears that the whole world has taken a nightmare pill. And so for us here at the Center for Spiritual Living, we do not want to put our energy and our attention on what we don't want, on what, all of the things that are negative or we would call bad. But instead, we want to bless those things. We want to make those into prayer requests. That's what I do when I hear something happening. But we want to focus on all those things in our lives that are living blessings. We want to count our blessings, if you will. So that pretty much sums up the theme for today in what Pam Grout had shared. And I believe that many of us here in this room, we kind of have I call it a chicken and an egg experience. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? And we said, well, I'll be happy and I will feel the love within me when everything goes according to how I want it to be. Anyone do that? Or vice versa. If something is happening that's difficult, we allow that to deeply affect us. We do. And what I found personally in my life, because I do counseling, is 99.99.99% of all the people who I sit with and who come for spiritual wisdom, or the spiritual wisdom's in them, and my job is just to bring that out. They come just to be heard, and they're looking for a shift in their life. What happens is they are bereft, or they are upset because some outer condition in their lives, and that something's happened that they might label bad, and they've allowed that to deeply affect them, profoundly unhappy. They create profound unhappiness. Well, I think that all of us do that on occasion. Anyone here not do that? We all have ended up in a place of difficulty or challenge at some point. And for some of us, it appears to be ongoing. But we can change that. Change your thinking, change your life. And so, knowing that the correct answer to this chicken and egg idea, it doesn't mean that we necessarily always live it, but we can choose differently. And that's when E squared. That's why I want to share with you today what she had to say in her book. Now, she said that she published this book, E squared, 9 years ago. 9 years ago. And I happened to buy it. Guess what it was called then? It was called, anyone know? God Doesn't Have Bad Hair Days. That was the name of her book. She said it literally hit the stands and no one bought it, but guess what? I bought it. I saw it at the bookstore and I said, God doesn't have, I have bad hair days on occasion, so I'm going to buy the book and see why. It was kind of interesting. She had the exact book written the same way, and she just published it in 2013. Our center, we studied this book last, I would say, I think it was last, not winter, maybe a little bit in the spring. In February, yeah. So we studied this book. A lot of us were reading it. And she said, so she published it, nothing happened, but now it's on the bestseller list. Now E Cubed is on the bestseller list. So what was the difference? This is what she said. She said the timing was better now. This is why. That consciousness had changed. That consciousness on the planet had changed. And now it was something that people wanted to read. The other thing she said that was very, very important is that her vibration changed. Something inside her changed. And what she did is she said that she pumped up her joy factor. She did things that made her happy. She started writing down all the things she was grateful for, and it literally changed her life. And it changed her prosperity, it changed her abundance, it changed the book. It's now on the bestseller list. All of that, and it was exactly the same book. She just published it under a different name. And so she writes this. She said, I have become committed to living in constant joy. It's another way of saying falling in love with life. And I began noticing all the blessings in my life. And I became internally happy. My external world, which is nothing but the projector of my internal world, began showing me a different picture. I'm going to say that again. Your external world that you see right now in your life, in your finances, in your world, is simply the projection of your inner world to the outside of you. She said she realized that and began showing a different picture. If you don't like what's happening out here in your life, choose a different picture on the inside. If you're not experiencing love, choose a different vibration, a vibration of love, and it will change the picture out here. In retrospect, she said, I should have seen it coming. As we connect with the source of happiness, joy, and love within us, we become magnets. We literally draw to us those people, places, and things that bring our thoughts to us. And that's what's so great about our teaching. Change your thinking, change your life. The universe being a huge feedback loop. So if you look out and you say, whoa, I don't like this, then you have the power within you. We'll be talking about that in a little bit, the power to change that. I'll show you how today. So now, just moving into the quote. Here's the quote that I love, this quote from Rumi. Here it is. You were born with potential. You were born with goodness and trust. You were born with ideals and dreams. You were born with greatness. You were born with wings, with wings. You were not meant for crawling, so don't. You have wings, so learn how to fly. Use your wings. And here's a recent note that's very similar from the universe. A couple weeks ago, I was curious, how many of you actually logged on and signed up for receiving on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, the notes from the universe? 2 of you, excellent. It's so much fun. Here's a recent one that I love. And this is the universe talking to you. This is what it says to you. Wasn't it clever of me to think you up? Never has there walked the face of this earth someone who thinks with your degree of insight, who loves with your degree of care, or who feels with your degree of hope. And never has there been such a need for someone with gifts like yours. Because at this very moment, there are people on this planet that only you can reach, and differences only you can make. Your number one fan, signed your number one fan, the universe. Whoop, whoop. So I encourage you, it's fun. Did you like it? Isn't it fun? I mean, every day is like totally different, and you know, it's like a wake-up call. It's really fun. So I encourage you to sign up for that. If you want more information, I'll tell you about that after the service. So today, our conversation is around being willing to recognize and express our own greatness, which is how we connect with our internal love of life, the internal part of you that says, I love life. Last week I had you all stand and you said it, I love life. So when we find our diamond necklace, anyone want to find a diamond necklace? Some of us? You do, okay. When I find my diamond necklace, or when I learn that I wasn't meant for crawling, but actually have wings to fly, then we can find the love of life itself, because love is that juice that is. So the truth is that you are unique, that every one of us is made out of love, here to love. And what this world needs, especially in this time of great change, it needs our love. And that's one of the reasons when I do prayer treatment, I send it out into the universe upon universe upon universe and upon universe. I love that. So here, there are 3 things that I'd like to share with you today. They're right up here. I don't know if you can see them. I know these are a little bit small. But there's 3 things that I share that connect you with that expression of your life that will shift you into a place of absolute knowing that right where you are, the divine lives and moves and has its being, and that you are that unique and wonderful being of light. Just like we talked about children earlier. Every one of us born and made out of that divine stuff. In order for us to be fully expressed, though, in this life, we must have a rich and robust experience of each of the points on this triangle. Can you all see it? So let's start with the first part of the very top part of the triangle. There's 3 things that will give you the experience of saying, I love my life. And it's going in the direction I want. So the top point right here is about following your wisdom guidance. Do you know that you all know this, every one of you have within you a gutometer, a gut, that tells you things, that is wise, that tells you, gives you guidance, etc. You might remember, some of you, and this is an example of that, some of you might remember the story from Scripture about the wiseness of Solomon. Anyone remember this story about the 2 women that were fighting over the baby? I'm going to read it to you because it's so good, just a little bit. It says, now 2 women who were harlots came to the king and stood before him, and one woman said, oh my lord, this woman and I dwelt in the same house, and I gave birth while she was in the house, and then it happened on the 3rd day, she gave birth. That this woman also. And we were together, and no one was with us in the house except the 2 of us in the house. And this woman's son, her baby, died in the night, and because she laid on him. So she arose in the middle of the night and took my son from my side while my maiden servant slept, and laid him in her bosom. And anyway, she claimed this other woman's baby as hers. So they go to the king with one baby. And Solomon, who's known for his wise words, said, no problem, just give me a sword and I'll cut the baby in half. Each of you will get half. He knew that the real mother of the baby would never let that happen. One of the women said, go ahead, cut the baby in half. The other one said, no, please give my son to this woman. And so he said, no. He said, you are the rightful mother. So he was very, very wise. And I think that's a great aside, for our teaching of this, to have wise wisdom. We're asked to be wise, and every one of us has a direct connection, if you will, a direct phone line, to the divine. In every moment you have an answer. Ask and it is given. So next time you want to find something, this happened to one of our members. She called me, and she's working for Vote Canada, one of our members, and she called me, and they give you papers that you have to do it, and she lost them. She couldn't find them anywhere. She said, they told me, don't lose the papers. And she lost the papers. So she said, will you do a prayer? So I did a prayer. I called in all of my angelic helpers, and within a very short time, she knew exactly where they were. She said they were sitting right in front of her, but she couldn't see them. She's house sitting, so they were at a different location. So there you go. We want to have wise guidance. We want to follow that. So that's the very, very first part. And in the Jewish Torah, it said, happy and free are those who find wisdom. She, wisdom, is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire can compare to her. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. Get wisdom, get insight, and do not forget. The most important piece of this is really to follow your guidance, whatever that might be. Number 2, I don't know if you can see this. Number 2 is heart compassion, or love compassion. I like to use the word heart because love, we love pizza, right? And we love our dog. And we love our whatever, right? So love is used in a lot of different ways. So I like the idea of the heart. So the heart compassion, this is very Buddhist, by the way. Very Buddhist. Always talking about compassion. So the right bottom corner here is all about compassion and being in that love place. And I love what Emma, the great, great, great teacher of teachers. I'm going to be teaching a class, by the way, next spring. And it's called Roots. And it's all of those great teachers who taught many, many, many years ago, many centuries ago. And it's the whole idea. When you go to the masters, I like to call them the ascended masters, because I like to work with them. That's what I will be teaching a class called Roots of Science and Mind. And what our founder, who studied all religions and all spiritualities and all science, and then brought this together in philosophies, that's what he taught. And I love that. So you get to study the actual people that he studied. It's like getting the pure maple syrup from the tree. Right? It's like a different experience than the watered down kind. So you want to be in your heart. You want to have love and compassion for yourself and for everyone. And the third one, which I am calling over here, is personal empowerment. What does that mean? Personal empowerment is the final part of the triangle. And I'm going to share. I found this book. It's actually a journal that I started using today, actually. And this is self-empowerment. Can you all see it? What's the first thing on the top? What does it say?
Happy.
Be happy. This is what self-empowerment is. Be happy. Speak your truth. Believe in yourself. Make mistakes. I'll tell you about the one I made in just a little bit. How many of you make mistakes? Take a chance. Let go and fall in love. Live for now. Be your amazing self. Start over. How many of you have started over? Follow your dreams. Find your voice. Think positively and enjoy each day. So self-empowerment, Marianne Williamson, we read this a couple of weeks ago as our reading. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that most frightens us. So you want to claim your personal power. You want to speak your truth. You want to live your truth. And what is that truth? That we are spiritual beings on an eternal journey. We are divine beings on a planet together. And look what we're creating. We can create whatever we want. And so when I see the world kind of churning, I know that we are being opened up into a whole new life, a whole new way of living, a whole new way of being. And I'm very excited about that. It can be a little scary, just like any birth. You know, sometimes when we give birth to something, it's a little bit messy, but we have a beautiful baby that is the result of that. So I believe with all of my being that we are in the midst of this great, powerful, fabulous change. So the last part of this triangle, we have, again, wisdom, guidance. We want to follow that. We have our heart and compassion of love to love ourselves and everyone. And we have personal empowerment to claim the truth of our being. And the glue that holds all of this triangle together is gratitude. And so I came up with this idea of a gratitude journal. Do you all have one? You should have got a gratitude journal. I want you to take it right now. Take it out right now. And you're going to note, I want to show you my mistake. If you all have it, I want you to open up to the first page. It says Saturday, October 18th. So what I did is I carefully got this ready. I carefully took it to the printers. She had me look at it many times. And it was perfect. And then I discovered several weeks later, after I had it all made, that it wasn't exactly that way. But I don't want to waste paper. I believe in recycling, and so I decided it was okay to make a mistake. So there you go. So even though it says Saturday, October 18th, I want you to write down right now, just really quickly, 10 things that you are grateful for. And if you need ideas, raise your hand, I'll help you. Anyone need help? Thankful for the fall. I'm thankful that I woke up this morning. I'm thankful we live in the most beautiful city in all of Canada with the best weather. I'm thankful for the Center for Spiritual Living for this beautiful teaching. I'm thankful that it's fall and I have a little pumpkin sitting in my kitchen. I'm thankful for soup and tea and a fireplace and a warm blankie and lots of dancing. I could write thousands of things. And so I'm going to invite you, beginning today, which you've already done, and every single day, for the next 40 days. And here's the thing, when you are willing to write down and acknowledge 10 things you're thankful for every day, and you do this for 40 days, that is I'm not going to be the only, but one of the most powerful ways to transform your life is because when you are focused on gratitude, then you are not focusing on negativity, and you're not looking at lack or limitation, and you're not saying, oh, everything, or like my son he'd like to focus on things that were not well for him. And guess what he got? He got a lot of things that were difficult, depression and other things. So we shift that into counting our blessings. If he were still here, I'd give him like 5 or 10 of these things. Say, all right, son, let's get going. Yeah. All right. The very last thing I'd like to share is actually from Dr. Holmes. It's just a small quote, but I love this quote. He says, we can never lose the divine love spark that we are. It is always there. Your spirit already is perfect, he said, an individualized center in the consciousness of the divine. God made you out of itself. The only material he had was the substance of its own being. He had to implant in you his mind, her mind, its mind, and the spirit he had to impart was his or her or its own spirit. So you are made in the image and the pure, beautiful likeness of infinite spirit. So again, just to sum this up for today, in order for us to be fully expressed, we must have a rich and robust experience of each of the points of this triangle. Wisdom and guidance, heart, love, compassion, which is inside, and personal self-empowerment. And we're here to fully live our potential, to fall in love with life itself, to fully live that life, to be all that we were meant to be, and to live our spiritual magnificence, to follow those guidances that we get, and to live in our heart and have compassion, self-empowerment, and gratitude is that glue. So how many of you are willing to take this journal and write just 10 things a day for the next 40 days? Are you committed to doing that? Because if you are, it will change your life, I promise. You will be overflowing with prosperity, with love, with harmony, with joy, all with peace, with all the blessings, because you are recognizing them, you are living them. And so it is. All right, we're going to play he's going to play the wings. So let's just take a moment, just very quickly, to anchor all of this into our consciousness. And so I'm just taking this moment right now as we bring this to a close, this message to a close, to recognize there is only one infinite and loving presence, one power, one life. And this power and this presence and this life is everywhere. It fills all time, all space, all place. In fact, there is no spot where God is not, where the divine is not, where spirit is not. It is the all in all. It is the power that creates worlds, the power that creates universe upon universe upon universe upon universe, forever expanding. And that same power that created the entire cosmos dances through you, lives as you night and day. It is closer than breathing. It is nearer than hands and feet. For I am recognizing and realizing my oneness made out of the divine. And I am here at the most powerful, most amazing time on planet Earth, the time of the great transformation, the great awakening for everyone on this planet and beyond. I am so grateful for that. And so knowing that and knowing my oneness, recognizing the power and the presence of the divine in, as, and through me, living as love in me, I fall deeply and madly and passionately in love with life. I count my blessings every day. I listen and follow my inner guidance system, the guidometer that is inside of me, that still small voice. I live in my heart, in my love center, which I call my heart center, my compassion center. And I have great compassion for everyone who is hurting, everyone who is going through a difficult time. I have my compassion and my love that I feel for them. So I choose to live in my heart. And thirdly, I express my personal empowerment. I choose happiness. I speak my truth. I believe in myself. I let go and I let God. I follow my dreams. I live my bliss. And the glue that holds this all together is simply one word. It is gratitude. And so I take a moment right now to be in gratitude for so many blessings. I have food to eat. I have a roof over my head. I have a vehicle. What a blessing. I have friends. I have family. I want to include my pet. I get to borrow one from upstairs. I'm grateful for this time of year, for this beautiful weather that even though it's raining a little bit, it's still lovely. I can't wait, and I look forward and bless the snow that will fall sometime in the winter. Maybe a white Christmas. I'm so grateful. I live in gratitude every single day, as Wayne Dyer does every single day that he was with us on this planet. He would wake up, and when his feet hit the ground, he would say, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am alive. I am aware of my spiritual magnificence. I am so grateful just to be alive and to have this opportunity to remember who I am, made in the image and likeness of God itself as me. And so for this and so much more, I just simply say thank you. I release this prayer into the law of mind that always says yes. And I know that love is my purpose. Love is the reason that I am here. As I release, I let go, I let God. And we say together, and so it is. And I invite you to just hear the words of this next song.